All right. I think we are finally live. Really stoked about this conversation. It's been a minute since I think we've had a quarter like this where I think a lot of the doubters and naysayers were just kind of put to bed. And so, what better way to kick it off with a conversation with one of the most hyped up people I know about Tesla, who's been doubters and naysayers were just kind of put to bed. Sorry, I had some echo right there, but what better way to hype up what's been going on literally on Q4 than bringing in Gali. So let's bring him in. I don't think he really needs an introduction. What's up, man?
Yo, what's up? Thanks for having me.
bring yeah, bring you back from from the dead, it feels like, but at the same time, really stoked for your time today, man. I know you're super busy doing a lot of the hyper guap stuff now, and taking a small hiatus from YouTube. But how you doing, man?
I mean, I'm good, and I'm still, holding all my Tesla stock. So I love scheming with people like you, OGs in the community, about what's happening, because I feel like we've seen so much of the rise and now. So yeah, it's great to catch up. I'm excited to dive into the results.
Perfect, man. Yeah, and also too, just a quick tidbit for some of you that don't know. I actually met Gali back at the shareholder meeting in 2019. We were kind of originally a part of that third row crew, but he was obviously part of the interview with Elon and everything. But that's when we had actually met, kind of from afar. I was sitting in the row behind him with Raj, and then again they were in the infamous third row. So, but that's when we actually kind of met from afar, and so it's just been really cool over the years to just get to know you more, and again just enjoy this ride and really just kind of see kind of where we are now, and have epic quarters like this. And for me, it's been, I know you've been following Tesla for a long time, but even more so than Q3, I just felt like this one just like hit the nail in the coffin. Really just put to bed a lot of some of the things that a lot of the doubters, especially over the past 3 months. I mean, the stock has been hit almost close to 70%, and then had this crazy rally in the past 20 days, over 60%. So yeah, I think, it's just awesome to see where it's coming now. But let me just quickly throw up the screen. I just want to hit some of these results. So earnings per share, 119 versus the estimated 110. That was non-GAAP. GAAP was 107 versus the 98 cents. Revenue, 24.3 billion versus the 23.6 billion. Automotive gross margin was at 25.9. So slight miss there versus the 26.4. And then about 3.7 million GAAP net income. So I mean, you literally can't make this up. I mean, they literally pretty much beat on every single facet. But yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts. I mean, what did you think about this quarter? Were you expecting this actually going into it, or were you a little bit kind of, you weren't really sure of the outcome?
Well, I mean, I was a little bit hesitant about the impact of the price cuts, and just the whole world's in a recession. Obviously, like, used auto prices are declining, automotive sales are declining. So how's that going to impact Tesla? And I don't know. We saw them produce record profits. I feel like they could have made a little bit more money if they didn't, like, if the recession wasn't there, but still, like, incredible quarter, super profitable. I also don't really look too much at like what they did versus the Wall Street consensus, because I just think there's just no point in listening to Wall Street. Like, you should just look at what numbers they reported. How did that do versus the last quarter? Are they growing? Are they shrinking? Like,
Yep.
just the very simple numbers. And gross margin coming in at 25% versus like 30% on the car business is really like, okay, factories are ramping, price cuts are hitting a little bit, but that's still such a good number. And the company's still able to be so profitable that, yeah, I mean, I just think it's like, this is like Apple like 10 years ago, where it's just, we're on this streak of, 8 to 10 years of incredible just growth, quarter after quarter, kind of blowing people away. As we like watch one of the biggest companies in the world sort of be born before our eyes. Like, it's pretty epic. So I don't try and read too much into the quarterly numbers, though. I guess is my take. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, some quarters gonna be a little bit better than we thought, some are gonna be a little bit worse, but is the overall trend of the business, how's that doing?
Yeah. So I guess with that said, how did you feel about maybe some of the projections, like the 1.8, what they're guiding to? And then I think Elon said towards the end of the call, like if everything goes right, obviously we can't, he can't predict all the macroeconomic headwinds like wars and other things like that, potentially even getting to 2 million. So was that kind of what you were hoping to hear, or was it a little bit lower? Or what are your thoughts on some of those projections?
I think it was a very smart guidance because it was low, so they like managing expectations. But at the same time, on the call, Elon literally gives everyone the 2 million number, so may have defeated the whole purpose of managing expectations. Because now, if we don't get 2 mil, we're gonna be like, "Damn, Elon's at 2 mil though." So I don't know. Like it's like classic Tesla. It's like they finally convinced him to like sandbag the numbers, but just on the call, he just like lets it slip, and Martin's like, oh, I don't know, but I'm kind of joking. But look, 1.3 million cars this year. We're going to do 1.8 million next year, a little bit below 50%. But, there's the whole debate of like some years it's going to be over, some it's going to be under. But I mean, to me, it's like, I mean, at a high level, what Tesla's going to crush it and gain market share, but there's so much of the automotive market. Like, I don't even think the results are like, how good is Tesla going to be this year? It's like, how bad is the recession going to be? Because
Yeah.
Tesla is such a big player in the market that if the automotive market shrinks, like so they priced in that recession. But it's like overall, I'm like, damn, you're telling me these guys sold 1.3 million cars last year. This year they're saying 1.8 million, and everyone's like thinking that's sandbagging in such a weak number. It's like, dude, if we hit 1.8 million, that's big growth. That's big progress. That's like 500,000 incremental cars in a year when the economy crumbles. So, and then you think right now we're already making 16 billion a year in profit run rate, delivering 1.6 million cars a year. So it's easy to see how the sort of earnings power, cash flow power of Tesla quickly gets into the 20 billions and beyond. And then I think that's why, to me, we're very fairly priced. I say fairly, I don't want to say super cheap, but like, we're trading around 400 or 500 billion, 20 billion in earnings potential right around the corner. That's a 20 to 25 PE. If you think Tesla's going to keep growing their earnings power at earnings at 50% for years, this is a steal. And it's kind of a trifecta of like the economy crashing, a little bit of Twitter drama, classic Elon drama that gets overplayed, and interest rates rising, and now it's like, wow, like this is actually a really good time to strike and add to your Tesla position.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, even for myself, we got in at like 111, 113. I did pop, I think, down to 101 at one point. But yeah, I think, I remember even, I think it was November, December, we bought more at 195. So it went all the way down to 101. So it's just, you got to keep buying again. But like you said, I think, at least for me, I was happy that they kind of, again, I know Elon made the comment at the end that they guided to the 1.8 million, kind of holding to a 40% growth. Because I think that a lot of people this past quarter, especially when the volumes were released, they were like, oh, they grew 40% versus the 50 that they were kind of navigating to. And, they said that they would be a little bit lighter than the 50. So does that mean 45, 44, 46%? So I'm happy with, hopefully they can just beat and raise. Again, obviously, we don't know what this year is going to look like. So I feel like they're starting to show some maturity there as far as like, rather than being super optimistic. Obviously, given, the incredible like down run that they had over the past 3 months. So maybe some of the stuff is already baked in, but I thought that showed a lot of signs of maturity, even if he's, saying, sure, we might beat that a little bit, but I thought it showed a lot more maturity this round. So
yeah.
One other thing I wanted to show, here, if you can see this is the, I can just maybe zoom in. Long story short, what this is this is the average, this is the operating margin, right? You can literally see it from 2017 all the way through 2022. And then this is the vehicle average selling price. And you can just see, right, these guys were negative 12, 14% or whatever the number was in 2017. And they have just continued to become more and more efficient. And I think it was either the CFO or it was Martin who had mentioned the like what they're going to be guiding to is the operating margin now. It's no longer other things. So this chart, I thought, just speaks a lot of volume of the incredible work that Tesla is doing, especially in the auto industry. If you want to, again, it's not necessarily a car company per se, but when you think of the majority of their revenue, that's what people are comparing it to. But all I can say is, like, when you look at this is like a hockey stick. You don't see this with, commodity companies. where there's a ton of bill of materials. And so I thought that this was just this slide just has just brings so much insight into what this company is doing and how they are just killing it. I don't know if you had any thoughts on this, or maybe this is your first time seeing it, but
yeah, no, I love this slide. And it when I see it, it's sort of like very simply put, kind of like the economic evidence of like what people kind of said was impossible that we sort of saw with Tesla. We're like, this is different. This is a computer company. Like they're building cars themselves. That's going to lead to much higher margins. Like this is different than GM or Ford, and it should be valued much differently per revenue because of the growth and because of their eventual profitability, which is unprecedented. And so this to me is the evidence of like, it's better than I thought it would ever be. Like I thought Tesla would max out at like 15% operating margin. And that was like insane because that was like triple Ford or GM. So to say that was already like, you're crazy. That's a ridiculous assumption. Tesla will never hit that. No auto company's really ever done that at that scale. And so now it's this to me is like the proof that this is the Apple of the car industry, not another, that's almost a bad analogy because like they're the Tesla of the car industry, but yeah, it's just the proof they're different kind of.
Yeah, totally. There was a Reuters. I'm just going to read this quote here. It was from Reuters. It was actually like a news article. Reuters mentions Tesla already earns roughly 7 times as much per vehicle as Toyota. Its pre-tax margins are roughly double the average of the rest of the industry. I mean, as we know, we're in this recession. We've recently heard about, some companies, really struggling, especially in the EV space. We know that other companies like Rivian and Lucid are just burning cash really badly. So what do you think, like how important is something like this comparatively even to this, the supposed competition? And like, what are you thinking and potentially going to see? Like, do you expect more bankruptcies this year? Is this just going to be, especially if we continue to head into this bad recession that we're potentially headed for?
I mean, the recession is going to make Tesla's position be significantly stronger, I think. I read this really interesting article about Netflix where everyone always says the competition is going to crush Netflix. If you look at the long run, like they've really just sort of proven the naysayers wrong time and time again. And now everyone's like, look at the competition. There's 800 streaming services. Guess which is the only one that actually makes positive cash flow? Netflix, making billions. Everyone else spending billions, not going to be able to keep it up. The recession is going to crush them. Tesla, very similar situation. To me, there is not another electric vehicle company in the US because I wouldn't define you as your own electric vehicle company until you really like are your own business that can fund yourself with your own profits. Like these are all, Rivian, Lucid, Arcimoto even, like these are all kind of like experiments until they get profitable. And so all of these companies, now that there's a recession, interest rates are going up. That means all of your buyers who are financing it can't really afford it. So the car sales are crumbling. So your addressable market and your sales and that growth, that revenue growth story, really hard to sell right now. Tesla's doing it, but that's only so the growth is getting hit. It's getting harder to raise money. I think this is kind of like a recipe for a lot of the competition to go bankrupt. And the ones that are going to survive are going to be really strong. Like I think Rivian is frankly the only Lucid could survive because Saudi could give them unlimited money. Rivian is in a fascinating spot because they're trading for like 15 or 20 billion. They have like 10 billion in cash, but they're burning like $1.5 billion in cash a quarter or 12 billion in cash. So now they're in this game of like, they don't want to raise money because they just IPO'd at $100. They don't want to sell stock at 15, but their stock's going to keep going down and they're going to have to dilute it cheaper. So I'm holding to my $4.20 price target on Rivian. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to hit $4. I've been saying since their IPO too. Then I'm going to buy, they're going to raise a bunch of money. And they're going to have to fire like 80% of the company because it's just some cushy tech company spending billions with no wherewithal of how to make profitable sense. Then they're going to have to like basically get punched in the face, adapt, evolve, and then they're going to become a company you want to invest in. And so, but that's like the only way you survive. And there's almost every one of these EV companies going to go out of business. So long story short is it's kind of like Tesla's going to be there chilling in financial position, drop their prices, incredible products already. And now all of your competitors are like, oh, we said we were going to build chargers for you, but now we can't because we don't have money. We said, our service isn't as good because we don't have money to put into that. And it's like, so it's interesting to see how the recession actually increases the lead of some of these stronger companies.
Yeah, no, I think even because if you think of like these companies that are coming in now, right, where they're coming in with a $90,000 car, 120,000, maybe more. You think of like I think that what's crazy about Tesla is that they knew how to enter the market, gosh, 20 years ago, if not longer, 2008, whatever it was. And they knew, okay, we got to start with the higher margin car and then come to the Model S and go all the way down to this mass production car. But now you have these other competitors coming in like Rivian and Lucid. They're coming in at the, again, kind of almost doing the same thing, but a little late, where Tesla has already taken a lot of that market share. And a lot of people now, like, again, it may not make sense for you to go buy. Again, we'll see what the Cybertruck pricing ends up being. But a Rivian one is, again, if you like the average truck look, you're going to go buy a Rivian. Again, I'm a fan of the Rivian, the truck. I like it's a quality product. But it's just one of those things where, if Tesla can even come in lower than that on the truck, it's just, and I think they will, it's just gonna, cause even more ripple. But yeah, I think that's the big thing that's insane is that they had this vision from the beginning. They're now executing on it. We're seeing the benefits of it where they, I think there were some quotes out there where they're literally the ones they can play, they have the hockey stick. They can throw around the pricing however they want to any opponent, or, you know what I mean? And just mess around with people. Like it's, and I think again, in that chart, it was showing how like the actual ASP has pretty much kind of stayed flattish, at least in the chart. I don't, let me just bring it up again real quick. It's it's pretty much been flat, and it's again, you can see here. Let me scroll down a little bit more, but again, this ASP, again, you're talking several thousands of dollars, probably the difference in between, but it's not been much, and they continue to optimize the crap out of this. And again, you see these ASPs being over 100,000 because again, you have the Model S, the Model X, but it all came down with the ramp of the Model 3 and Model Y. So yeah, I don't know. I'm super excited about the future. I think what they've done and where they are now. Now with over 22 billion cash, I think they're set up really well. I think one other thing, unless you had other thoughts.
Well, I just wanted to ask you what you thought about Rivian. Like just kind of like high level, like just, seeing another EV company come in and seeing the cars on the road, seeing the Amazon trucks. What do you think about how Rivian's done?
Yeah, I think like I said, I think the product is quality. I think especially with them tackling having Amazon delivery vans. I mean, obviously with Bezos owning like what 20% stake in that's a huge thing. But I think with them being able to almost kind of like do the semi and then kind of like, having going into the trucking industry, obviously, because the trucking industry is like one of the biggest segments in America. I think they're doing it right. But again, they're always going to be in that situation where their stuff is not upgradable to full self-driving. So I think there's always going to be this inferior complex with them. I'm a fan of it. I see it. I have my neighbors. They're all a lot of them are Rivian employees. You can tell because a lot of them were they were the first ones to have it. So you can see some of them driving around. But I think they're facing this huge uphill battle unless they cut costs. And change things drastically, they will continue to, be faced with potentially going bankrupt. And I think, you saw that with Twitter, not to, that's kind of regressing, but to a different topic, but 3 billion, they were going to be projected to lose 3 billion. They had 1 billion in the bank. I think you even said, what is it? Rivian has 10 billion in the bank, but they're spending $1.5 billion or 2 billion, maybe more per quarter. That's a year and a half, or like 2-year run rate or something like that, whatever it is. So
and when they IPO'd, it was like 4. So it seemed like when they IPO'd, it was like, oh, they have so much time. And now it's like, wait, like they're still like nowhere near it. And now it's like 2, like you said, it's like,
yeah. And I just threw in some money just to see what happens. And I remember it shot up to 170 and I was like, should I? And then I held on. Thankfully, again, I got in at like 99 and I got out at, I bought in at 99 or something like that. It got out at 95. So I took a small loss. But yeah, I knew the writing on the wall when I saw it just come crashing down. And then now it's like, what, $15. And again, your projections 420. I saw your tweet the other day with you standing in front of a Rivian. And I just couldn't stop laughing just because. And
I'm actually salty about that because I was supposed to interview RJ Scaringe and like he bailed on me. This is like way back in the day. And so I've always been like, and just like ghosted me. Like, and I've always just kind of been like, bro, like, how are you going to like tweet that you're down to interview and like set it up with your team and then ghost me? And like, so now I'm kind of like, all right, bro, like, I'll troll you. Like, you should have taken my advice. Now you're going from a hundo to 420. I'll troll you the whole way down. Like, if you want to ghost me, like, you know, joke's on you, bro. Like, so that's I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, but also like I do think it's the like the what to not overlook too much of like the stock, the financials, blah blah blah. Like the product is really impressive. It looks really cool. It seems like it's really good quality. It seems like people like it. You know, you see my friends on the street who don't even really know EVs, but they're like, ooh, there's Tesla. Now they're like, ooh, look at that. That's the Rivian. You know, like people kind of so there's something to that. And I love like the Amazon delivery vans they make are really cute. I will say that. Like you see them on the city, the little circle lights, and I'm like, this is super cute. And like they're electric, and this is so much better than some loud gas thing like that doesn't look cute. Yeah. So I'm like, I love what they're doing in those ways.
Since you brought that up, have you seen the USPS what is it, demo car? I think it was at the CES. It looks so ugly. Have you seen?
You have to look up like a tiny front and then it like gets really big. I think I did. Yeah.
Well, that's what I thought about when you said that.
I mean, that's kind of quirky, like.
But yeah, no, I think like I said, it's you know, we need more companies in this space that don't have the legacy auto track record where, you know, they have all this baggage, right? Like we need more players. And so that's where I'm hoping, you know, selfishly hoping that some of these companies will do well. But from a finance standpoint, there's a lot of changes that need to happen. Otherwise, you know, bankruptcy is just continuously knocking at their door. And again, you know, I don't know RJ personally, but all I do know is, you know, Elon 2017 through 2019, that dude was sleeping on the floor at Gigafactory 1 and Fremont. That is the type of CEO he knew. Like, you know, you don't have to do much math to realize like, what is my run rate? Where could things go wrong? And if you're not, you know, changing that and making a difference and, you know, really believing in that, then, you know, you could just be like some of these other ones that are just, you know, trying to hype the stock, get the money and peace out. Again, not saying that Rivian's a fraud, but making an EV company, you know, again, Tesla and Ford are the only two companies, American companies, that haven't gone bankrupt. And again, I'm not including some of these newer companies in that, but it's not easy. It's not easy. So, but yeah, I also too, I wanted to get your thoughts on, you know, obviously there's been, and this happens every quarter. You follow Tesla for days. And, you know, you again saw the 2018, 2019, and it happens every quarter. It's like we're in 2023 now, and we still get these dumb questions about demand, right? And I also too, we're in a recession, so I get that same question. But even Elon makes the comment like, hey, like we actually have 2x the orders of our production. And really, I feel like just drops the mic and just kind of shuts everybody up because, again, we've been getting so much feedback of Elon's distracted. He's, you know, tweeting out political things. He's busy doing other things. When people forget, like Tesla, which is still heavily in the Bay Area, like people think that they just moved and they took their employees with them. There's like 47,000. I don't even remember. There's a ton of employees still here. The Tesla Autopilot team is like 30 minutes away from the Twitter headquarters. And so people just think, you know, he's been distracted and, you know, they've been like, hey, you know, demand's going to go down. His social branding is just impacting Tesla's brand and all this other stuff. But to see where the orders are, and sure, the price, you know, probably helped this a ton. But it's not like I think, you know, they just flipped the switch and demand necessarily went up like that. That was probably still there, right? So I don't know what your thoughts were on that comment specifically when he said that, and was that a surprise to you, given, you know, the recession that we're in right now?
Well, as a Tesla skeptic, you know, or like not skeptic, but I'm always a skeptic and being like trying to poke holes in it because it is my biggest investment. And so I'm no matter what Tesla's going to be doing, I'm always going to be thinking about how could it go wrong? Because that's like what you got to be thinking. And at some point, demand's going to run out. Like there's not infinite humans. And we're already like such a good selling car. Like Tesla's in uncharted territory. Like nobody thought a premium car would sell this many units. So to me, it's already like Tesla could be the best product on the market. There just might not be that many millionaires who can afford $60,000 cars, and like we tap those out. So part of me is very curious where that is, but I don't think we're near there. But I also just, I think that would be one moment where I think Elon gets a little like, I don't want to say defensive, but I think he lets his card show, and that demand will eventually slow down, because until they get the autonomous car, then that's really a game changer for demand. But, and that's why he's always like, we have double the orders. Well, it's like, we know what the inventory is. Tesla, Troy, and all those people, it's a little controversial, but it's like, we can see the inventory goes way up, and they needed to accelerate the amount of orders. So they dropped their prices to do that. So to me, this like theory, like, so, you know, and there's a constant balance, and inflation comes down. But to me, there's a very intense calculated piece of Tesla that's constantly scheming, what is demand? How do we balance production perfectly with that? And constantly calibrating that to the economy. And so as an investor, I try and be very in tune with that. And that's why I see price cuts, blah, 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 hitting. That's going to tweak margins a little because of the way they're flowing down pricing. That's exactly what we see in Q4. But you just kind of got to like be like, okay, well, Tesla having a tiny price cut, still selling out. Maybe they make 200 million less this quarter, but that doesn't matter because they still made 4 billion. So that's where, to me, I'm kind of on your side. It's like, you can argue about it, and we can debate what the sales are going to be, but this isn't actually mattering for like, is Tesla going to survive? Is it a bad quarter? It's like, nah, it's still a fire quarter. Tesla's still making, you know, I don't know. Does that give some clarity, or like my idea?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's always important to just like, you know, take a pulse on where things are. I do think that the price cuts were timely, especially when I saw it in China. You know, getting, I think it was the Model 3 down to like 33,000. And obviously I think it, you know, it definitely pissed off some of the people who bought early. Cause I think there was like some controversy on like who's showing up to the showroom. Is it people buying versus, you know, so I think there's anger. Like, I have some friends that bought last quarter. They're, you know, they're not happy that their car went down 10, 15%.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, now I've had 3 friends in the past week hit me up and just, you know, they're actually asking me like, hey, do you know if the tax credit applies to the leasing? Like they're very interested, and a lot of them are taking test drive. They drove, my old boss, actually, he drove a Polestar, he drove a Mach-E. And they're, you know, they're just looking. And so it's just like at this price point, when you think it's like, what is it, like 44,000 right now for a Model 3 standard range, and you get the tax credit, you're down to like 36,000. You're literally in the price of a Honda Accord. And then when you know, look at that 5-10 years of owning it, like it just is a no-brainer. And so, you know, just, you know, even obviously with tech being hit as hard as it is, especially in the Bay Area, we're feeling it right now. But it's one of those things where at this price point, if you're thinking of a new car and you are wanting to make the jump to electric, you can't just ignore Tesla. And especially, I'll be interested to see like if Ford or Polestar, if some of these other guys pull back their pricing, which I think they'll have to, especially if they were already having an issue moving cars. But now at these price points, like, again, we'll see how long Tesla keeps it. I think it says like March 31st is like that last day, but you know, we'll see if they bring the prices back up or if they keep them at where they're currently at. So
yeah. And I'm curious what you tell your friends about this, because I'm always like, look, like, and they're like, Gali, of course you're biased on Tesla, but like, dude, it's just like, I'll get another electric car. I'm like, okay, well, you can, but you're paying for a bigger battery that's less efficient. Your powertrain's not as efficient. The self-driving technology is going to be as good. There's no superchargers. Like they're cutting all these corners that you're not even seeing in cost or performance, like adding more cobalt to the battery, not building it in America, paying less taxes, not supporting American jobs. Like, the safety of the vehicle isn't as good. I don't know if you have a family or not. You know, these are all things where I'm like, for the price you get, the amount of technology in this product is so much more than the competition. Like, it already looks better on specs and price, but then those, to me, that's like scratching the surface of the differences. So that's why I'm always like, damn, like it's just such a better product.
Yeah, you know, not, I don't want to spend too much time on like, but like, so the funny thing is like, sure, I run like, I guess the largest club in North America now for, you know, a Tesla owners club or whatever. We obviously have this big following. Yeah. Yeah. We have this big following on Twitter. We interviewed Elon Musk, like, you know, so with all that said, like, you would think, sure, I'm biased, but the funny thing is some of the stuff you can't make up. And what I mean by that is, like when people come to me and ask like, hey, what should I buy? And obviously they're probably thinking, okay, John's biased. But like I've had an F-150 go over a double yellow line and whack me and my son in the same car. And my car barely moved. And the F-150 almost flipped. Okay. And this happened in July. It was July 5th of 2019. Thankfully, my dash cam was recording the whole freaking time. So I have a personal testimony and story about how this is the safest car. We also saw the Model Y go literally, the guy, it sounds like allegedly wanted to take the life of his family and went over like a cliff literally 30, 40 minutes away from me. And so like when you're thinking of like, okay, what is the safest car? And if you're talking in the same price point, like there is no competition. Like, why would you buy anything else? And I think you alluded to some of the stuff, right? Like, think about also too, because I have a young family. Let's say I bought a Rivian, and my wife wanted to drive up to come see you up in Seattle. If you're in that location currently, but like, you know, you're up in Seattle, and imagine going on Electrify America with a 1-year-old. There's not a guarantee that every station is going to work. And that's why it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, why would you waste time with anything else? Right. Yeah, I think someone said it's Devil Slide was the where the Model Y, but like, it's just one of those things where the experience is so bad in some of these other, with some of these other companies. And it's because the network for those companies hasn't been built out yet. So I would say you're going to have to really wait another 5, maybe to 10 years, really, again, for these other cars to have the same experience as Tesla. I know Tesla is going to open up their network. I hope they don't touch high dense Tesla areas. Like if they do that to LA or even the Bay Area, I assume Seattle's probably the same. It's going to be
packed.
It's going to be horrible, man. It's going to be a horrible experience. So I hope they do it like, you know, mainly based on like charging stations to travel versus like they leave those areas. But and I haven't even started talking full self-driving, man. I mean, I think Omar put out a great tweet. He was saying something like, you know, hey, FSD beta is horrible in my neighborhood. And then he was talking about like, oh, Waymo's so much better. And then he asked the question like, well, can Waymo go in your area? No. And it's like, there's no one further in general autonomy than Tesla, right? I can go up to Seattle. I can go up, and I don't think, do you guys have Cruise or like Waymo up there running around right now?
Just started seeing some Waymos actually.
Okay, so but it's one of those things that's geofence, right? They're picking high, you know, specific areas to do it, and you just can't. No one's ahead like they are, and I think with Dojo, it's going to be, you know, probably the smartest computer ever to be built. Just the stuff that they're doing is just unlike any other company. And again, I say this with Legacy Auto, there's so much baggage that they're bringing in with the dealership models and everything else that they can't turn the Titanic ship fast enough. And that's my biggest thing is like, you know, again, so, you know, you talk about safety, you talk about, you know, how smart the car is, pricing, just everything. It's hard for me to recommend anything else. Again, sure, I'm happy a nice car's off the road, but it just it just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I don't know if you had any other thoughts. Otherwise, I wanted to show this chart. And you know, speaking of that, let me see if I can again zoom in a little bit here. So this is a quick chart on autopilot, right? So we finally got up to 400,000 FSD beta testers or users. And it's fully, you know, usable in US and Canada. And they've reached now over 90 million miles. And this is not navigate on autopilot. So it's not like I'm driving on the highway and you know, those miles are going into this. This is just FSD beta, which again, these are two different stacks for those that don't know. So I thought that, you know, last quarter was 285,000. So they grew to 400,000. So I think, this is, and they actually recognized some of the deferred revenue. I think it was like 324 million. I think it was Omar that mentioned that or something like that. So keep me, correct me if I'm wrong, but, I'm really excited about this. Again, a lot of the market just continues to see Tesla as a car company, when it's clearly a bunch of mini startups within one. But yeah, did you have any thoughts on some of these stats?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the fact that we haven't, I would have totally thought there would have been like some sort of like bad situation with the rollout now. Like, I don't know. No, I don't even like you haven't heard about an FSD accident. We have
No,
400,000 cars. Like, that seems
90 million
ridiculous to me.
miles. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems insane. So I actually saw that and I was like, Tesla's already bringing self-driving to the masses. Like,
It's
this
already
is
here.
it's already here and we're all living it and everyone else is kind of in denial saying they'll never get there where we're just using it every day. So it's kind of a weird place to be in.
Yeah.
And I'm still like, but it's weird though, because as closer as we get to the technology being done, it feels like we're further away than ever from like the true robotaxi. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just so curious. Like, when does the government Musk? They're gonna let him have self-driving cars and like I don't know. I'm just so curious. Like, when does that like the greatest asset appreciation in history that Elon keeps
Yeah.
talking about? So curious about that.
Yeah, and you've been like an OG tester as well, and you've seen it. Like for me, what I've seen happen in 2.5 years and like 5 months or whatever it is, 2 years, 4 months, it's grown a ton. But I think when you look at from update to update, it's hard to see the growth. But when I look back at some of the drives that I had originally done to where I'm at now, like it has jumped leaps and bounds. But sure, in my opinion, like from having like getting your car where there's no like wheel, you could literally take out the wheel. I still think we're a ways away from there. And I think it was recently, was it Mercedes, the first one to be able to get level or autonomy level 2, like to essentially be on the roads or something like that in the US. I forgot if it was them, but
Mm.
yeah, no, I mean, I definitely think we're a minute from that. I don't know when this is going to happen. But all I do know is, like you said, this is something that we have access to every day. It's something that is going to save a ton of lives. It's saving lives, and people won't know that it was saving their lives. But yeah, sure, it's not perfect, right? There's things where I'm still having to disengage, but again, that's all part of testing and really being a part of this story where hopefully we can get there. But I am bullish on it long term. I know Tesla's going to be the company to solve it. I don't doubt that they're not going to be the ones to solve it. And and I think they're taking the right approach in that they're doing it from a general basis. They're not trying to solve, okay, this random pothole on First Street in Seattle or something like that. They're not trying and the same thing with Waymo. They were in Mountain View doing these Waymos for years, if not a decade before, went to other places. And for me personally, it's just these other companies are just they're trying to tackle it one city at a time, and just you can't. I feel like scale super well that way. So I think for Tesla to really focus on these edge cases within more of the general basis is the way to go, than versus trying to like work on like geo specific areas.
Mm-hmm.
So. One other thing, I don't know if you wanted to, drop some knowledge or some thoughts on the energy business, right? Because obviously we know Tesla is not just a car company. Here, let me just zoom in here a little bit. So this is again from the deck, but the energy storage business, and Elon mentioned that this business is now growing faster than the auto business. And I feel like for me, this is kind of one of their hidden gems or hidden giants, that they've just kind of been incubating in the background. And obviously everyone was pissed off when Tesla bought Solar City back in the day. But this is something that there's unlimited demand, as Elon keeps saying, essentially for this. The mega packs I think are sold out for years, 2 years ahead. But yeah, at some point they shared like 152% year over year growth. They just are announcing the Nevada Gigafactory launch. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you had any thoughts on their energy business. Is there a time frame in your head when you're hoping to see more of this? But also too, this could really help their margins as well long term.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's finally doing well. Like, I am convinced. Like before, it was like so long of like, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And the energy business was basically flat until now. And I think a big part of that was the batteries. Uh, like they were kind of obfuscated by the solar business being flat and being bigger. You couldn't see this like booming battery business. And so now the battery business has gotten big enough. We're seeing the top line of energy take off with those battery deployments. And I thought there was such a good question on the call about where's the next mega pack factory? Like, you know, if we're going to build this 40 gigawatt hour one and it's immediately going to get used and like we're scaling that as fast as we can, like, shouldn't we start building another factory right now? Like, we have 20 billion. And it sounded like Elon was hinting at more announcements about that, but didn't want to say anything. So I'm very curious about that. And I think this investor day, along with the robo taxi unveil and some sort of mega pack expansion, is going to be big. But I mean, look, energy has gone from a non-factor and to like, you know, I'm personally convinced. It's like, okay, 1.3 billion in revenue, 150 million in gross profit. Like and now it's like getting ready to grow faster than the car business. Like we've been waiting for this. And so I think it's really exciting. And it's very, very accretive as an investor. Even maybe it seems small now, but it can definitely get to the point where it's significantly adding to earnings. It's on the cusp of doing that. It's a diversified revenue stream. It's a totally different business than cars in some ways. The addressable market is just as big as cars, but is totally untapped and ripe for disruption. So you look at, like you said, it's a collection of startups. It's hard to even say a business that's doing over a 5 billion revenue run rate, hundreds of millions in gross profit a year is a startup, but it only is because it could grow to 500 billion in revenue. So now I'm like, okay, I'm convinced it's going to get to 500 billion in revenue. It's going to take a long time, but we're only at 5 billion now. So yeah, I think it's exciting. This is big time to see the energy business finally like do it, you know?
Yeah, so I live probably, probably what, like an hour from the Lathrop Megapack factory,
Nice.
the big one. And you know, I went out for the first time to check it out. And you know, it's, you know, aside from that, you just forget that there's all these factories, right? You just always think of like the mothership, Fremont, you think of Giga Austin, Berlin, Shanghai, and you forget that, you know, Nevada, Buffalo, like there's all of these factories. There's one in Lathrop again with this Megapack factory. And there was actually like in Lathrop, they have all of their like services and parts, like all the stuff, the manufacturing for that is all out there as well. But you know, you just start, you kind of like I said, I was kind of standing behind the fences on the public road, just like looking just at the factory and stuff. And it was just mind blowing to see, you know, again, you know, what this company is doing. And again, it's something that is kind of in the background that will become and has a ton of potential, but will become something in the future. But yeah, I was just, you know, really, you know, when I saw that note about the energy business in the dock at 152%, and now that it's actually eclipsing the auto business in growth, it just made me super, super excited. So yeah. But did you have any other thoughts? Otherwise, we could maybe spend like another 5 minutes. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Spend like 5 minutes. I'm getting some questions from the audience that we can kick to you. Otherwise,
audience questions, fine.
Yeah. Okay. So I think, okay. So let's go with, here, let me just see this. There was some above. Let's just go with this one. Where is it? Okay. So show. All right. It'll pop up on the screen. Gali, Gali, how confident are you Tesla will reach driverless FSD solution, and what time window?
Very confident. You know, 3 to 7 years.
Okay. Very simple answer.
Yeah, I don't know. I've said this so many times, and to be honest, I don't know. Like my confidence in my own confidence is low. Like,
yeah, no worries, man.
And the important thing is they're monetizing FSD in the meantime with the subscription, with the 15,000, with the raising the prices. Like the value of FSD is there, and they're capturing economic like upside from that. And so as long as that continues and ramps, like that's, you know, that's important.
Yeah. One other question is, what would be your signal to buy calls? Hypothetical answer is fine. At which point would it be irresistible?
I mean, this is obviously not financial advice, but if Tesla stock hit like 100 or went below 100 and they put up another 4 billion earnings quarter and like I didn't see that going away, then I think it's like I would start buying the stock and maybe a call. I've thought about it, but to be honest, I don't really support buying calls or options. And I've dabbled with it a bunch in the past, but like I just think it's like you're betting on the market timing, and I just like to buy the stock and own the business. And I've like I don't know, for me, just like waiting until the stock goes down and being greedy when others are fearful and just has worked so, so well. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who've tried to get smart with options and it's totally backfired, and they would have been so rich if they just bought the stock and held it. And then they tried to get a little too smart. So I've done that too. So I've learned the hard way so many times to not do options. But yeah.
Cool. You know this name, Ryan. Do you think Tesla will
Oh yeah,
sell a
Ryan.
$25,000 vehicle, and will that be replaced by? Sorry, do you think Tesla will sell a $25,000 vehicle, or will the $25,000 vehicle be replaced by a robotaxi that is never sold?
Kind of like both. I think the $25,000 Tesla has been like scrapped, and they're basically going to come out with a robo taxi that costs 25,000, but it's going to not be like it won't be intended for human driving is kind of my theory. And so I think Tesla's sort of gone behind the scenes and said, we don't need to do like a super cheap Camry-esque 25,000 EV. We need to do like this model, not Model 2, it's the model robo taxi. That's like what in my brain, how I think about it. They're changing. So I don't even think Tesla knows if they're gonna sell it for 100,000 and that comes with FSD, but it costs them 20,000 to build it. Or will they just operate it, or both? I just think that's very unclear. And to be honest, I think Tesla has no idea.
Yeah. Okay, and then there was this one. This one is always good. ARK investment 1,500 stock price for 2026. Do you agree?
No idea. I mean, maybe it's possible if Tesla crushes it, but I think that's a little high. And I also think like, hmm, I love ARK Invest, but to be honest, if I was like really critiquing their thesis and how things played out, I think a lot of their thesis was like autonomy. And frankly, they've been kind of like early and wrong on that when the thesis was really more about margins and just
Yeah.
profitability. And so, like, I think there's a lot, and this is a bigger symptom of the Tesla community where I think actually ARK knows what they're doing in general, though, and is dope. And I love Kathy Wood and stuff, but a lot of people in the Tesla community like seem dope because they're part of Tesla because Tesla stock went up. But I actually like think a lot of them got lucky and don't have any idea what they're talking about, is kind of my hot take. And that's why I don't check Twitter or like watching the shows, like, or, or like watch Tesla YouTube, honestly. Cause I think a lot of like the new people in the community are like morons when it comes to like true financial analysis and like actually being a good investor. And this is my other final hot take on this is I think it's a red flag when you see people in the community. It's like, bro, like I've been investing in Tesla for 5 years. Like I've actually been investing. Like, have you actually for 10, like since 2012, have you followed the stock price since then? Like if I actually knew about Tesla and put my money where my mouth is and invested in it when I said I did, I would be retired from making Tesla videos because I don't need to do that anymore, which is what
Yeah.
happened. So when you see people who are still making it's like, shouldn't y'all have made hella money by now? Like, I don't know, and it's
Oh
like,
man. No, but I mean, right, like I said, you like when I met you again 2019, like at least when we were at that 2019 shareholder meeting, right? You were talking about, people that could see a lot of their, investments just go to zero, right? And this company was almost going bankrupt. They were, trying to get this the Model 3 off the ground. And there's been a lot of new people that have come into the community, and are obviously making doing part of the Tesla community now. But these past 3 months have been more telling than anything else because you've seen a lot of them just making comments against Elon, or just that they just haven't, because they probably came in at the peak, right? Maybe $340, whatever the number was.
Or it was
And
all like going like this for like
yep,
3 years. So I think, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? And that's why even I think back when again I knew you, I would give my opinion a lot more on Twitter, and I've obviously matured on that a lot of times, right? It's just I sit back a little bit more now and just watch, and I think it can just speak more volumes on people's actions. But again, we don't need to spend
Yeah.
a
But
ton of
there's
time.
also like, I guess to flip it on the positive, there's some people who like the OGs in the Tesla community. Like I personally get a lot of satisfaction from Omar's account and your account too. Cause I think like I follow you guys and I know you personally and stuff. So I love, and I actually like know how much you know and care and respect about Tesla. So maybe that's just different. I don't know some of the newer people. I just don't trust them because I don't know them. But like Omar, I love Omar. And I think Holmar is like, he is just so like, I think of him as one of my favorite comedians, not even really like a Tesla analyst because he's just so funny and trolls, but like he's actually so smart. And I just think like people like that in the Tesla community are just like priceless. You know what I mean? He'll be, and like even like Ross Gerber, like I disagree a lot with Ross Gerber on a lot of stuff. And I think he's crazy and like he's got his own vibe, but like he's also like these are kind of like special, awesome like characters in like a show. I feel like we're all kind of in that's reality. That's this like Tesla Twitter reality, you know, like
Yeah, yeah. No,
you
it's
know, like
yeah, no, it's the community is boomed. Again, like I think I can literally think of like all the people in the community back in 2018. I still talk to the majority of them, and a lot of them
yeah,
are around, and a lot of them are doing different things, right? Like even if you think of the whole third row group, I mean, you guys are all doing different things, right? Even
yeah.
and so yeah, no, it's yeah. I'll leave it there. All right. Um, 4680 production ramp is slower than expected. Do you agree or disagree?
I
Or
would say it's slower than they probably I don't know. I think it's about right.
okay. And then I think let's do this one. Tesla hype. Optimus showed us
Ooh.
that Tesla is willing to be flexible on the mission. Given engineering talent and Elon teasing new products, what other markets do you foresee Tesla getting into? That's actually
This
Tesla
is
hype. I follow
fire.
you. Great question, man. Great question.
Yeah, this is fire. And his first sentence here is the biggest thing that's happened to Tesla since I've been following the company. They put out Optimus, the mission to accelerate renewable energy. Like they're doing that, but it's different now. And I think that like kind of like maybe for you too was like, whoa, like Elon, like we're doing robots. Like we were doing green energy, but now we're doing robots. And that's a big new idea.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
frankly, I think the new products are actually going to swing back toward the clean energy side. I think the home, I saw a tweet about somebody being like, wow, I've been up all night. I think it's going to be the home that Elon's hinted on at the conference call. I think a smart home product. Maybe that's why they stopped selling the Powerwall. You know what I mean? They're like, because we're just going to embed that into a home. I tell you, in HyperGuap, I am seeing dozens and dozens of companies trying to build a new way to build homes because the way we build homes is fragmented. It sucks. It's not streamlined. It needs to be like done at the factory in this certain very modular way and then shipped out. And you can assemble it in like 1/10 the time with a way doper design. It is just the construction home building industry is ripe for disruption. It's just as big as everything else. I think Tesla has not done it due to a lack of focus, but you put together the breadcrumbs of the Tesla AC unit, this HVAC, the solar roof, the power wall. I mean, this is just the breadcrumbs to the Tesla home. And I think that's one I think would be super cool. The
Yeah.
bus, yeah, but yeah, I'm
Sorry.
curious what you think.
No, no. Well, I wanted to make a comment and then I think, but yeah, no. Especially in some of these areas like Tesla, right? They're going into these cities, building these crazy factories. So just imagine they build these like $50,000 homes, like a Tesla home per se, like very, obviously 100% run off of like renewable energy, but that ecosystem is for the taking, I think, because you see a lot of it happening. Especially, I see. Shout out to Anwar Beck. Some of the stuff that he's doing with
Love
some of the
him.
new, yeah, with some of the stuff he's
Oh
doing
yeah,
with
dude.
the new community or whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly that kind of thing.
yeah, he could like I said, because I even from an investment standpoint, I've checked out Austin because again, they're still having this huge influx. It's actually
Oh yeah.
it's great that they're kind of taking a crash right now, like most areas, but you know, that area just kind of like rippled for, you know, kind of like Tesla stock for the longest time. But just being able to get a house right next to Gigafactory Austin, I think those homes there will do really well long term because again, the type of person you have working at Tesla that's working potentially in the factory is probably going to be single, maybe not doesn't have a big family because again, they're going to be working a ton of hours. And they're going to be making really good money for that area, you know, outside of the other tech companies paying them. And so you can charge kind of a premium. And so there's some cool like niche neighborhoods around there that actually are making kind of like these newer homes. But again, probably not the smaller, like, you know, $50,000 homes, but the $500,000 million homes that are just going to probably do well. But yeah. So I think you were going to mention the bot or something else.
Oh, the Model B, the van or
Yeah.
bus. I think that could be another thing Tesla's scheming on, about like crazy products. But I love your scheme on Austin and the way they're gonna do like the natural habitat thing, and river park thing next to the factory. I mean, I love the vibes in Austin. I think it's such a cool, fun town. Like,
Yeah.
it's just I can't even like it's just awesome. And just to kind of it's kind of like got me hyped on America again. Like there's not many cities in America. Like I used to be kind of bullish on Seattle, but like I think we've gotten soft, honestly. And Austin out here is like it's booming and it's like jobs, it's like young people, it's like music, it's comedy, it's art, it's technology, it's culture, it's food. And I'm like, that kind of makes me proud to be an American, to see a city like that I see embracing all those things on the cusp of going from a few 100,000 to millions and becoming like one of the world's coolest cities ever. Like that's just awesome. And our government low key has stopped doing big cool projects. Like that really bums me out. And I think it's kind of interesting to see now that companies like Tesla, and this is why, last kind of random tangent though, the stock buyback, I hate the idea of the stock buyback because to me it's like Tesla is so much like build bigger parks, like buy land so we don't deforest it. Like I don't know, there's just like I kind of feel like when you go to Rome, you see the Colosseum. Like I don't know, I feel like we don't really build cool big new things anymore that like are awesome and use technology to kind of I don't know if that's kind of making sense, but I feel like Tesla
Yeah.
is an unique system to like build a subway system, to build these tunnels, to like update America in so many cool ways that and Austin's kind of like just the microcosm of that crazy movement and future that I see. So it's like, ooh, and like Tesla's just embedded in that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you really look at really for me, I totally agree with you. Like I mean, I've been in the Bay Area, so it's the cool thing about being in the Bay Area is that you see a lot of things that are created here, and even Seattle, like just other places, like you know, with these tech hubs. But you see these areas that they innovate, and then you see it impact the rest of the world, right? I could go to anywhere in the world, and you'll see like Google, Android phones, you'll see Apple phones, and you'll see like you know Microsoft, you know, tablets, places. But that's the thing that's like so epic about you know just like innovation, and I think that you know even with SpaceX, it's the perfect example. I took my kids to go see a NASA exhibit at Moffett Field like back in November, and now they're talking about going to Mars and like you know, and it's the
That's
funny thing
awesome.
is like when I was growing up, like Moffett Field was a joke. And what I mean is they kept scaling it down to the fact that it's literally nothing. And the whole, I mean, again, you look at all these companies like Lockheed Martin and Boeing, and, you know, they're just all like scaling, they're dinosaurs, like waiting to die almost, it feels like. And so, sorry if I offended anyone, but all I'm saying is it's taking companies like Tesla and, you know, SpaceX, and they're making it now like the government is kind of, especially with SpaceX, they're jumping on board like, oh, you're going to save us. It's 100x less to send a pilot to the International Space Station, and I don't have to pay Russia to go do that. I think it was like $80 million. It's like done at 4 million, whatever the number is. But
Wow.
you know, that's I think the cool thing about this time, right? Because I think you know we obviously weren't around for the Industrial Revolution to see all these like crazy innovations with specifically like manufacturing and all this other stuff. But it's cool to just see like Tesla is taking manufacturing and making it just amazing, right? I mean, and again, we saw that that chart earlier where ASPs are going down, operating margin, percent is literally going up. And because of that, they're, again, going to Austin, like you said, it's just what they're going to do there. I think at some point, they're going to turn that city upside down, and they already are. It's just that town. Like when I've been there, I think I've been there twice. And when I got there, it was one of those like a cool vibe city. But what I'm saying is it's like one of those places. I don't think I've ever been in an area where I'm like, this place is going to be different in 10 years. Completely different. And that's the vibe that I got there. I'm like, this place is not even built like, the highways are just going to just get screwed over. That's why they need the boring company there. But either way, it's just it's one of those few places you go to and you just know that this place is going to be completely different. And it's going to be because of Musk, right? Like him alone coming and bringing, all of his companies out there is just going to be, and now with Twitter, it's just going to be a complete game changer. And then last thing I want to say, the van, because actually I had asked Elon about that. He said they may consider it. But yeah, the van is going to be that's like another really big market that I think that they should jump on, and it makes sense because again, out of all of the emissions that are that are being created right now, I do think that segment could take a lot of reinnovation. So
and paired with autonomy, that's a killer right there.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I think was there any other thoughts? Otherwise, I don't want to. I know we've already been going an hour, but do you want to end with anything?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta bounce. This has been awesome, and I guess I just end with my big takeaways. Tesla, the hard part's over. We're on to the fun part. We're making a ton of money, but like that being said, it's still it's not really over yet. Like we're just getting started, kind of, and it's still in the very it seems like we're so big. But I feel like we're literally just like in the early innings still. And, I'm like hyped to hold the stock for the next 10 years. Our 2033 podcast is going to be crazy.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like, I mean, for me, it's like, I feel like, the 2018 through 2020, man, or even, 20, because I'm a later comer. I'm more of a 2018 guy when it comes to Tesla. Like, I'm not going to pretend like I've been holding since 2012. Like I'm late to the game, but the great thing is I got in when this company is going bankrupt. But I think for me, this earnings call, I think that, everyone was kind of expecting, I think it was even Steve Mark Ryan had made the comment, it's going to be like a boring call or whatever. But I think, and I think another analyst, Dave Ives or something, was like, oh, this is going to be the most important one in history. I do think that this earnings call really just set a tone. And that's what made me so hyped about it. Is sure, they broke records, everything. The energy business is growing. Cybertruck is coming. The Tesla Semi mega factory is going to be built, so they can do high volume on that. But so there's so many right things. But I think it's just more of like with demand just kind of settling there, and then just some of the stuff he made, some of the comments on social branding and stuff. I just felt like leaving this was just kind of. It was just a mic drop, and it was just more of like, and Toyota is laying off their CEO, stepping down. And then, so there's just so much going on. And I couldn't be more excited to be an investor and fanboy on the side than now.
Yeah, dude.
So, but Gali,
the Tesla
thank
OG.
You. Yeah. Gali, thank you, dude, for your time. I know you have a lot going on right now, but make sure
my grandma's in town. Shout out Grammy.
Yeah. But yeah, so thank you for letting me steal some of your time away from her. Tell her John says thank you, but really appreciate
I will.
it, man.
Yeah, great catching up, and have a good one, man. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
All right, thanks for tuning in, everyone.